Alex, I was looking at that 3D printer in the corner this morning, that little plastic extruding robot, and it struck me 20 years ago, if I wanted a custom bracket for a specialized jig, I spent 4 hours at the milling machine, or I just made do with a piece of scrap oak and a prayer. Now, I can think a part into existence while I'm eating my oatmeal. It's almost like cheating, but without the guilt.
Oh, so the man who refuses to use a digital tape measure because it's too fancy is finally coming around to the robots? I remember you saying 3D printing was just glorified hot glue gunning about 3 years ago.
I'll take my medicine on that one. I was wrong, but look at what's happening right now in 2026. These used to be finicky little science projects where you spent more time fixing the machine than actually making things. But these newer bamboo units, they're like reliable old pickup trucks. You turn the key and they just go. No more leveling the bed like you're performing open heart surgery.
It's definitely leveled the playing field. But it's not just about making little plastic toys anymore. I've seen people using these for serious repair work.
That's the ticket. And the materials, that's where the real magic is hiding. I used to think PLA was the only option, and it's about as durable as a chocolate bar in a microwave, but now we have these ESD safe and conductive filaments. I was tinkering with some 3DX Tech flexible stuff last week.
Wait, conductive filament? Are you telling me you're 3D printing actual circuits now?
Not quite a motherboard, but close. You can print housings for electronics that won't fry the components with static electricity. And the flexible stuff, it feels like high-end rubber. It doesn't need one of those high-temp, industrial-grade ovens to print either. I did a custom gasket for a vintage vacuum pump on my standard desktop setup. It's like the Industrial Revolution decided to move into our suburban garages.
It sounds like the entry level is disappearing. If you can do industrial-grade work on a budget machine, what's the excuse for not starting?
There isn't one. If anyone's on the fence, go to one of these additive manufacturing expos happening this year. Seeing a machine print a titanium engine part or a carbon fiber bicycle frame, it changes the way your brain works. It makes you realize that the only limit we have left is how well we can draw our ideas.
Speaking of drawing ideas, I saw the latest labor reports. It looks like the smart money isn't just in the machines, it's in the wiring that powers them.
If I were 18 again, I'd be sprinting toward an electrical apprenticeship. The JLL report is saying electrician jobs are growing at triple the rate of everything else. It's a gold rush, but instead of pans and shovels, people are carrying side cutters and code books.
Is it just because of the housing market?
It's bigger than that. It's the great plugging in. Everything needs a high voltage backbone now. Every house needs an EV charger. Every smart home needs complex integration. And the grid itself is getting a massive facelift. If you're the person who understands how to navigate the National Electrical Code, specifically the new 2026 updates, you're basically a wizard with a union card and a very fat paycheck.
So you're saying don't just be a wire puller, be the tech-savvy Sparky.
Exactly. The guy who can just pull Romex through studs is going to be fine, sure. But the technician who understands solar storage, smart panels, and EV load balancing, that person is never going to look for work a day in their life. They'll be the ones people are calling at 9 o'clock p.m. on a Friday and paying whatever it takes to get them there. It's a career with a fortress around it.
Moving from the trades to the makers, let's talk about the nightmare of the price tag. I see it all the time on Etsy and at craft fairs. Someone spends 20 hours on a beautiful walnut table and sells it for basically the cost of the wood and a sandwich.
It hurts my heart, Alex. It really does. I used to be the world champion of this. I'd finish a project, look at the person buying it, and feel so guilty about charging for my fun that I'd basically give it away. I was essentially paying people to take my furniture. That's not a business. That's a very expensive, sweaty charity.
A sweaty charity, that's going on a t-shirt. But seriously, how do you fix that mindset? Because charge what you're worth is the most useless advice ever given.
You have to get cold and clinical about it. You need a pyramid. At the bottom, you have materials, and I mean every single penny. If you use $2 worth of high-end sandpaper to get that finish, you better account for it. Then you have labor. If you wouldn't work for someone else for $10 an hour, don't pay yourself that.
And the overhead? That's where people usually trip up.
Right. The lights don't stay on by magic, and that table saw blade gets dull with every pass. You have to factor in the rent of your own space. But the real secret, the piece that makes it a business, is that 10% to 30% markup above all those costs. That's not your wage. That's the company's money. That's the money that buys the next tool or pays for your health insurance when you inevitably drop a hammer on your toe.
It feels like people are afraid that if they price it correctly, nobody will buy it.
Well, here's the cold comfort. If they won't pay the price that keeps your shop open, they weren't your customers anyway. They were just people looking for a bargain at your expense. When you price your soul work appropriately, you're telling the world it has value. If you don't value your time, why should a stranger in a booth?
You've been doing a lot of soul work lately on the shop itself. I noticed the workbench isn't where it was on Tuesday.
I've gone modular, Alex. I'm tired of wrestling with my own floor plan. The modern shop isn't a static museum, it's a transformer. I've put everything on high-capacity casters. If I need to clear the floor to do some masonry work or fix a leaf spring on the truck, I can push the wood shop into the corner in 5 minutes.
It's the Legofication of the workspace. I love it. It makes the space feel larger than it actually is.
It really does, and it lets me play with the big toys, like the fourth axis on the CNC. I've been experimenting with some 3D carvings that, if I do it right, actually look like I spent a month with a chisel and a mallet. It's about using the machine to do the heavy lifting so I can focus on the artistry of the finish.
You also mentioned something about hardscaping in the notes. Are we moving the TigerDen outdoors?
Briefly, I've been watching the guys over at Liberty Mason work. You can take the most boring flat backyard and, with a bit of stone, some mortar, and a weekend of backbreaking labor, turn it into something that looks like an Italian villa. It's one of the highest returns on investment you can do for a property. It's just big-scale crafting. Instead of wood glue, you're using mud. Instead of a chisel, you're using a pointing trowel.
Knowing you, you'll have a 3D printed stone-laying robot by next month.
Don't give me ideas. I've already got enough voices in my head telling me to buy more tools.
All right, before we get out of here and let people get to their literal workbenches, what's the big takeaway for today?
I think it's about the bridge. We're in this incredible era where the old world trades like masonry and electrical work are meeting this new world tech like 3D printing and CNC. The people who are going to thrive are the ones who can stand with one foot in both camps.
Don't be afraid of the robot, but don't forget how to use the hammer.
Exactly. Use the tech to make your life easier, use the trades to make your life stable, and use proper pricing to make your life sustainable. Stay hungry for the new stuff, stay humble enough to learn from the old timers, and just keep building. Whatever it is, just make it better than it was yesterday.
Well said, Tiger. Now go turn that 3D printer off before it makes an entire army of plastic ducks while we're gone.
Too late. I've already got 6 of them. Catch you next time in the den.